Thank you so very much. At the outset, I would like to extend my thanks to Ashish sir, who has given this opportunity to interact with you people, and to be part of this prestigious institution called IUCTE Varanasi, BHU Varanasi. Very glad to be here. And once again, as you said, this is a seventh day, means just one day than that of. I think you are having this training program for 8 days, and I'm last but not the least. Well, last but one day. So thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Uh, and the topic again on which we will be having deliberation is student diversity and inclusive education. I'm sure if someone has already taken this particular topic, so I will not be required that much. The burden has been brought down to reduce to some extent. So, but still, I mean, of course, my perspective could be different from that perspective of that resource person. So I'll try to do justice for with all of you on this particular topic of student diversity and inclusive education. So in this 90 minutes of my session, just let me know if I'm not audible at a particular given point of time.
Audible, audible.
And also, if my slides are also not moving, just let me know.
It's,
So, am I audible? I hope I'm audible.
yes, ma'am, you're audible.
And screen is also being
Visible now.
okay. So we will see this in 90 minutes of my session. What is diversity? We'll also see the definition of diversity. Diversity in Indian higher education. I mean, I don't know, you all agree with this particular statement of mine that this diversity was not prevailing previously around 40, 45 years back. So, but then now it is. So as a teacher, we must understand, that why we need to understand diversity in Indian higher education, especially from the reference of this NEP 2020 policy document. How student diversity enriches the learning environment. I personally believe that yes, more the diversity is more the say what do you call it? Learning will be more interesting. It will be enriching as well. Then after that, we'll be moving and we'll try to understand about the inclusive education. Also, we'll see the aims and objectives of inclusive education, some principles of inclusive education, and also what are the obstacles actually for bringing down this inclusive education in our higher education system. Then some certain approaches. Also, we will say kind of quickly see that what are the different approaches made by the government of India to promote inclusive education and higher education. So, in nutshell, this will be the content of my session today. So first thing first, let us try and understand about this word called diversity. If we try to see the meaning of diversity, यदि हम dictionary meaning देखते हैं diversity का, तो it says it is different. So how diversity is prevailing in our classrooms in higher education system? यदि आप classroom की strength देखिए, तो you'll find that the boys are sitting, girls are sitting. Then the students are again coming from different section of society. There are some students who are coming from socioeconomic disadvantaged groups, like SC, ST, OBC. Then there are general categories. Then religion wise also diversity is there, you find people sitting again there in the classroom could be from Muslim minority groups. Then you have Christian students. Then you have Sikh students. You have students who are following Jainism, Buddhism, like that. So religion-wise, also diversity we get to see. Then nowadays, you get to see students in many of the say universities or institutions, especially if we are talking about metropolitan cities. The metropolitan cities की बात करें, so you get to see even the transgenders, sitting there. Transgenders भी वहाँ रहते हैं, and transgenders not only in terms of students, but even the teachers are there who are actually transgenders. So it's a good say initiative that the transgenders are also getting admissions in the higher education systems in our classrooms. And we have students who are disabled, are having some problems of, they are having some physical challenges are there, mental challenges are there. Then visually impaired students are there. All these kind of students are also nowadays are being seen in our institutions, higher education institutions or classrooms. Then age, again if you talk about age, so it's not only that 18-year-old child, even say female, I mean, especially, if you come to these states, like when you talk about Madhya Pradesh, you talk about Rajasthan or Gujarat.
स्वयं द्वारा एडॉप्ट किए गए मानकों के आधार पर
So, if you are talking about states like Gujarat and not Gujarat exactly, but especially if you are talking about states like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and then Rajasthan, where a lot of social pressure is there, on girls, they do get married at a very early age. 17, 18 years mein shaadi ho jati hai, and then they start having their family. So maybe many a times, after having their families also, at some given point of time they want to return back to the academic institution. So for them also, the universities and colleges are open, and we do give admissions to some such girls. Girls क्या बोलना चाहिए, the mothers कहना चाहिए कि आप किसी भी एज का भी कोई बार नहीं है. सो सो मच ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी इज प्रिवेलिंग इन आवर हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम. इतनी तरह की डाइवर्सिटी हमारे क्लासरूम्स में हमको देखने को मिलती है. सो लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड कि डाइवर्सिटी का मतलब क्या है. द कंसेप्ट ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी इनकम्पासेस एक्सेप्टेंस एंड रिस्पेक्ट. सो दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि जब आपके यहाँ पे किसी भी एज ग्रुप के, किसी भी जेंडर के, किसी भी कल्चर और जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल किसी भी रिलीजन के, सोशो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटम के लोग आते हैं. सो द फर्स्ट व्हाट वी नीड टू डू इज वी नीड टू एक्सेप्ट सम सच स्टूडेंट्स. यदि कोई कोई SC ST के है, कोई माइनॉरिटी सेक्शन का है, so we need to accept some such students, and also need to extend our respect also to this kind of a say student. It also means understanding that each individual is unique, and we need to recognize our individual differences. Of course, now we know that even the real brothers and sisters are say similar. We are having the same set of parents, but still we are different in terms of our thinking, in terms of our likes and dislikes. हमारी food habits भी अलग होती हैं, हमारे कपड़े पहनने की स्टाइल भी अलग होती है. So we know that each of the student who is sitting in the class, they are very, very unique, and this is what we need to recognize, that we are different, and we need to accept the differences, and we need to once we accept them, we need to extend respect also. Now, similarities के लिए तो नहीं मैं बोल सकती हूँ, but individual differences certainly add richness and texture to our educational experience. Why? Because if a student is coming from Kashmir, we get many Kashmiri students in our university. So when they come here, they kind of, are having different kind of languages that they're speaking. They're having different culture. They're having different customs. So as such, we just have kind of, if we are reading about the Kashmir and all, in some book, the references and all, so that much we don't gather the information. But if a Kashmiri student actually comes and starts living in the hostel, then you get to see bhai, what is their religious practices, what food that they are liking, what language, what dialect that, of course I know कि वो सब हिंदी इंग्लिश बोलते हैं, but उनका इंग्लिश और हिंदी बोलने का जो dialect है, that is also different. And उनके preferences, उनके likes, उनके festivals, we all get to know when we are actually living with these kind of students. Similarly, if say a student is there who is blind, she's sitting in the class along with the rest of the students, we get to know okay, what is that she likes. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि knowingly unknowingly we heard their sentiments. When we heard their sentiments, that time we don't get to know, but later on we realize अरे हमने ऐसे क्यों बोल दिया. क्योंकि many a times it has happened कि क्लास में जो बॉयज होते हैं ना, काफी मस्ती करते हैं. वो अभी often we use this kind of a statement, अबे यार अंधा है क्या, दिखता नहीं है क्या. But suppose if a blind student is sitting there, so what do you think he is going to say, what will be the reaction of the blind boy? Because हम तो मस्ती में बोल दिया, उस लड़के ने तो मस्ती में बोल दिया, not that he wanted to hurt the sentiment of that blind say boy or a girl who's sitting in the classroom. But कई बार हम लोगों के यहाँ students इस तरह से बोल देते हैं, we often kind of make this kind of a statement without realizing कि भाई ऐसे भी बच्चे हमारे यहाँ बैठे हैं who actually can get offended, whose sentiments can get hurt. So definitely the differences, when the individual differences are there, from student to student, it will actually add a lot of richness and texture to the education experience, because the way they are learning. So diversity definitely is important, and it enhances the quality of our education also. Now this is a beautiful quote given by Kofi Annan, जो कि UN के वो थे, president थे. उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा एक ये कोटेशन दिया, which I always share it with the participants, that we may have different religions, we may have different languages, we may have different colored skin, because like if you go to Western countries where you will find that students are not only from the United States, but you will find students coming down from eastern region of the say globe. Like for example, these students वहाँ पे बांग्लादेश के भी रहते हैं, पाकिस्तान के भी रहते हैं. You have students from India as well. Then you have students from Philippines and Thailand and some such places, Japan and all that. So they are kind of, they are basically termed as yellow people. Yellow because their skin texture is a little bit yellowish in color. So we are not just different from religion wise. We are not only different language and color wise, but but one thing for sure, we must understand and we must know that we all belong to one human race. कोई भी काला हो, पीला हो, गोरा हो, इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग का हो, चाहे वो क्या कहते हैं फिलिपिनो का लैंग्वेज बोल रहा हो, चाहे इंडोनेशिया में वो पला बड़ा हो. The thing is, we need to understand that we all are from one race and clan, that is a human race, and it's a beautiful thing कि diversity तो होती रहेगी, but हम लोगों को सबको एक चीज समझनी पड़ेगी कि हम सब human beings हैं. Now let us see the definition of diversity. It says the inclusion of individuals representing more than one national region, color, religion, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, so on and so forth. अब कई बार ऐसे भी स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं ना से क्लास में हम लोग उनको बायकॉट करते हैं, like we are having, maybe because we are prejudiced, but then there are students who are kind of attracted towards a male student, can be attracted towards a male student. तो जो उनका सेक्सुअल ओरिएंटेशन है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं ना कि LBGTQs, तो उनमें लेस्बियंस भी हो सकते हैं, गेज भी हो सकते हैं, बट देन वी नीड टू kind of accept some such students also in the classrooms if at all they are there. And of course, apart from that, we, as I said, that we are nowadays getting giving admissions to the transgenders, different students coming from different national origin, nationalities, different who are actually practicing different religion. So all these kind of people, if at all they are there in the classroom, or if at all they are there in the academic institution, that what brings the diversity in the academic institutions. Then एक दूसरी जो definition है ओक्लाहोमा स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी की, उसने कुछ ऐसा बोला है कि diversity usually is related to the ethnic background of the students. And it's not just only the ethnic background, it is a broader concept. Anytime a student is different from the rest of the student in the class, that student is diverse. Say, for example, if a class is having all regular normal students, but there is one student who is physically handicapped. So if that physically handicapped student is there in the classroom, so that student is diverse. Diversity can relate again to gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, country of national origin, etc., etc. Now, why there's a need to understand diversity in higher education? As I was telling, say around 40-45 years back, if we kind of see the history of our higher education system, so at that time, this much of diversity was not existing. Why? Because, ab hamare example ले सकते हैं. Like, if you ask me, so my mother, she studied up to, she only completed her graduation. मतलब ग्रेजुएशन उस समय की बात है, अराउंड 60 years की पहले की बात बता रही हूँ, क्योंकि वो बिकॉज आई एम आल्सो 60 नाउ, सो 60 years बैक मतलब अराउंड 40 years बैक की बात कर लें, तो शी वाज अ ग्रेजुएट दिस थिंग पर्सन. हम अपनी ग्रैंड मदर की बात करें तो वन ऑफ माय ग्रैंड मदर वाज, शी नेवर वेंट टू अ स्कूल आल्सो. और जो दूसरी ग्रैंड मदर थी वो कहती है मैंने बड़ा एलिमेंट्री पास किया, क्लास 5th दिस थिंग, अप टू क्लास 5th शी took her this thing, she got her education up to class 5th. तो मैंने कहा अच्छा, okay, fine. And now that if you kind of talk about us, so we are also doing our PhDs, we are working in the universities, and we are working at different places. Females are nowadays kind of, you see them working at the corporate this thing sectors, and वहाँ पे जाके CEO बन रही हैं, executives बन रही हैं, like that. This kind of diversity was not there 45 years back. Females नहीं थी, transgenders never part of the higher education system. Only the regular normal students were given admissions. And रिलीजन में भी देखिए तो माइनॉरिटी सेक्शंस का कोई रोल नहीं था. सिमिलरली फ्रॉम इफ यू टॉक अबाउट सोशियो इकोनॉमिक डिसएडवांटेज सेक्शंस ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स लाइक एस सी एस टीज है ना, ये सारे स्टूडेंट्स हमारे समय में 40 years पहले की बात करें तो हमारे समय उस समय की बात करें तो वो सब नहीं होते थे. बट नाउ दैट इट हैज शिफ्टेड फ्रॉम द एलीट स्टेज टू अ मैसिफिकेशन स्टेज. व्हाई? बिकॉज अभी तो हर तरह के बच्चे मिलते हैं, बट देन ओनली द चिल्ड्रन ऑफ एलीट बैकग्राउंड, यू नो, फैमिली बैकग्राउंड, only they were the only ones who know part of our higher education system at that time, 40 years back, 45 years back. But not anymore. When we are having so many kind of number of types of students present, that's why we are saying that it's important to understand diversity. पहले तो थी ही नहीं तो उसको समझने का question नहीं था. But now that diversity is there, so it is important for all of us as a teacher to understand that okay, the diversity is there, and how best we can make use of this diversity, you know, from this current scenarios point of view, from the current context point of view. अब यदि हम इसकी बात करें, ये जो डेटा मैंने लिया है 2021 का, कि दैट इंडियाज दिस थिंग नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स हु आर प्रेजेंटली स्टडिंग इन आवर हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम हैज ग्रोन टू 4.41 करोड़. ये जो डेटा हमने लिया है, ये हमने ऐश का लिया 2021 का, दैट इज ऑल इंडिया सर्वे ऑफ हायर एजुकेशन, which actually is saying that 4.41 crore students are currently studying in our higher education system, which is the world's second largest higher education system after United States of America. And also over the years, the enrollment of students from all sections of society, particularly from weaker section, disadvantaged groups, especially disadvantaged groups की बात करें तो जैसे girls जो हैं, जो पहले admission नहीं लेती थी, SC STs जो पहले higher education institutions में नहीं होते थे, then linguistic minorities, you know, ethnic and religious minorities have increased and have gone multifold. अभी तो जितने regular students नहीं है उससे ज़्यादा तो you'll find SC ST students more in number. Girls are more in number in higher education, say institutions than in comparison to boys. So, owing to this increased number, students from weaker and disadvantaged sections, classroom and colleges have become very, very diverse. And actually, within the classroom, if you see that how diversity actually can help, you know, like when you go to a workplace, because of the globalization, at a workplace also, the workplace has become so much diverse, you know. Not only the, you know, you'll find the people or the workers from general society, I mean from the general say this thing, what do you call it, general category, but also you have people working who are from SCs, STs, OBCs. So कितना ज़्यादा डाइवर्सिफाइड वर्क पावर भी है, मैन पावर भी है, मतलब जो मैन पावर की बात कर रहे हैं, जो वर्क फोर्स की बात कर रहे हैं, कितनी डाइवर्सिफाइड वर्क फोर्स है एट अ वर्क प्लेस ऑल्सो. देन हमारे यहाँ टीचर्स भी हैं, देयर आर सम टीचर्स, कुड बी सम टीचर्स हु आर ब्लाइंड, who are physically challenged. So इसीलिए it is important that, you know, when the students are there in the classroom, we need to make sure that, you know, we teach this to our students to, you know, respect them, accept some such kind of diversity and respect them. And that is why, you know, when they go actually in the society, when they say kind of go to a workplace, so then definitely they can make positive use of it, because, you know, they will learn by that time, by the time they'll complete their education. That is, we need to give respect to the kind of different people who are existing in the society. So diversity is actually very essential to have good relationship with one another. But again, it's easy said than done. आपको भी मालूम है और हमें भी मालूम है कि जब हमारे क्लास में ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं, you know, there is always a gap. There's always a gap between the normal set of students, normal in terms, you know, not normal just कि उनके आँख वगैरह है, but also, you know, like students who are having all ears and eyes, and मतलब जैसे कहना चाहिए normal regular students. And if suppose if a blind student is there in the class, तो आपको पता नहीं है that is how to behave with that person. या आप ऐसे भी gap देखते हैं कि that, you know, you have students who are again there from the city side, you know, ऐसे students हैं who are having their own set of cars and who actually can afford their own say vehicle. I mean, I know there are many departments here in my own university जहाँ students के पास अपनी खुद की गाड़ियाँ हैं, like they come by two-wheeler, four-wheelers. And then there are students who are coming from SC ST background, जो ऐसे भी बच्चे हैं जिनके पास में जो है who cannot afford to buy से स्कूटर छोड़िए, कार मतलब कार छोड़िए स्कूटर भी नहीं खरीद सकते, who are actually walking on their feet to come and attend to say attend the classrooms here, I mean to attend the sessions, to attend this thing, they are coming on feet, they are coming by this local public transportations like buses and all. So kitna divide hai apne class mein. Then when these students are coming from the rural areas, so many of them they don't know as to how to operate the this computers even, because they are not that tech savvy. और जब हम अपने बच्चों की बातें करते हैं, when we are talking about our own children, and आपको पता है कि जैसे हमारा बच्चा, suppose if my child is not good in mathematics, so हम क्या करते हैं, we always get a we hire a personal tutor, and we send our children to the coaching institution so that he can improve upon the mathematics or whatever subject that he is weak in. But when you see some such students, एक तरफ आपका जो इतना जो gap divide हो चुका है, कि एक ऐसा भी बच्चा है जो who are only speaking in English, जो अपनी गाड़ियों में आ रहे हैं, इनके पास तो हो सकता है नाइके के अपने गॉगल्स हैं, कपड़े जूते पहने घूम रहे हैं, then on the other hand you will find कि बेचारा एक set of clothes में वो घूम रहा है. So this is very essential. When some such students are there in the classroom, it is the responsibility of a teacher, that is how to bridge this gap, because now they have come to say kind of get themselves educated, they have come to study, and that is why जो इसकी बात कर रहे हैं कि पहले के समय में why only the students from elite family background were coming, because we never used to have this reservation system, but the government has introduced this reservation system. Why? So that we can educate some such students who were not able to come to the classrooms earlier. तो अब बच्चे आ रहे हैं, रिजर्वेशन कर दिए, once they come to the classroom they are given provided with the scholarships, free ships, this kind of a thing. So it is important, that is once they are there in the classroom, it's better that they get along well, so that they develop good relationship. And we know it is difficult, but not that difficult also at the same time. So it's important to have diversity in the classroom, and because ultimately when they all go out and work in the society, so by that time they will also learn to give respect to people who are coming from different religion, different class, culture, and like that, etc., etc. So this is what is diversity in Indian higher education. ये थोड़ा सा एक broad overview मैंने यहाँ पे दिया है कि socio-economic differences हैं, caste-wise differences हैं, religion backgrounds के differences हैं, marital status, geographical location, language, different linguistic this thing is also there, like people speaking Punjabi, Malayalam. So linguistic diversity is also there. Learning aptitude-wise diversity is there, because in the class also you have on one hand very gifted students, talented students, and on the other hand you have students who are actually very weak in studies. जिसको हम बोलते हैं weak students हैं. So that learning aptitude wise diversity is there. Then of course cultural, racial diversity तो हम देखते ही हैं. This is just a pictorial diagram of the same. And let us try and understand the meaning of student diversity. This was in general about the diversity, and now we are moving towards this is student diversity. अब हम student diversity की बात कर रहे हैं, तो again let me again give you the example that if a student is there from the say city side, from the urban cities and from the this thing metropolitan cities, तो वहाँ पे उनकी जो ये है बहुत अलग है, उनके experiences बहुत अलग है. For example, that these students actually can get personal tutors, they can go and attend some coaching institutions. So definitely, and घर पे भी जो आपको environment मिलता है, बड़ा close आपको environment मिलता है, close knit family में बड़ा अलग तरह का आपको socio-economic support जो आपको मिलता है. But similarly, यदि आप दूसरे ऐसे बच्चों की बात करते हैं जो रूरल एरिया से हैं, जहाँ बड़ी बिग फैमिलीज हैं, जहाँ पे न्यूक्लियर फैमिली का कंसेप्ट नहीं है, उसमें जो है उनके सोशियो इकोनॉमिक जो सपोर्ट है, इट इज टोटली डिफरेंट. दे डोंट गेट दिस काइंड ऑफ अ सपोर्ट फ्रॉम देयर फैमिली. मेनी ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स आर फर्स्ट जनरेशन स्टूडेंट्स इन द colleges and in the universities. This thing is totally different, उनका ओरिएंटेशन बहुत अलग रहता है. यदि हम बाकी अर्बन क्लास के बच्चों की बात करें तो उनके एनवायरनमेंट बहुत अलग है, उनके सोशियो इकोनॉमिक कल्चरल बैकग्राउंड्स अलग है. सो डिफरेंट कल्चरल बैकग्राउंड्स बेसिकली क्रिएट्स अ वाइब्रेंट कैंपस एटमॉस्फेयर दैट बेसिकली प्रमोट्स क्रॉस कल्चरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, एंड विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्योंकि भाई अपने घरों में रहे जहाँ दो बच्चे हैं, हमारी जरा भी हमारे डिफरेंसेस होते हैं तो पेरेंट्स कहते हैं अच्छा आप भी ले लो, ये भी ले लो. एंड हमारे जो सोशो इकोनॉमिक जो अपब्रिंगिंग है, सोशो इकोनॉमिक जो हमारा डेवलप, सोशल जो हम स्पेशली इसकी डेवलपमेंट की बात करें, जो हमारी क्या बोलना चाहिए, हमारा जो इतना क्लोज हमारी घर के जो बॉन्डिंग वगैरह रहती है, और हमारा जो इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट की बात करें, हमारी जो इमोशनल उसकी बात करते हैं, तो इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट भी बहुत अच्छे होते हैं। हम लोग किसी चीज को ऐसे अच्छे से समझ लेते हैं अपने आपस में भाई बहन के, अच्छा हाँ ठीक है। लेकिन बट इस तरह से जो बच्चे आते हैं, जो रूरल बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं, ट्राइबल बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं, who never have actually have had this kind of an this thing, protective environment, तो उनके तो घर में बहुत अलग चीज होती है, बट दे हैव टू लर्न एवरीथिंग ऑन बाय देयर ओन सेल्फ। उनके कोई पर्सनल ट्यूटर्स नहीं होते, उनके यहाँ कोचिंग की कोई फैसिलिटीज नहीं होती हैं, उनके इमोशनल जो डेवलपमेंट है, वो सोशल इकोनॉमिक इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट भी उतने अच्छे नहीं होते हैं जब हम उनको कंपेयर करते हैं अर्बन सिटीज के बच्चों के साथ में। सो उनके कारण क्या होता है, व्हाट एक्चुअली हैपेंस, कि उनकी जो लर्निंग स्टाइल्स है ना, वो बहुत अलग होती हैं। बिकॉज आप देखो, यदि जो सिटीज में जो बच्चे रहते हैं, चिल्ड्रन जो रहते हैं, स्टूडेंट्स हु आर कमिंग फ्रॉम प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशंस, है ना, जो बड़े बड़े प्राइवेट ये होते हैं ना, जो स्कूल्स होते हैं, जहाँ पे बच्चों को क्लास 1 से दे आर गिवन दिस थिंग, हैंड्स ऑन टेक्नोलॉजी। उनको हाथ में मोबाइल भी दे देते हैं, उनके हाथ में कंप्यूटर भी रहता है, ये भी रहता है, क्या बोलते हैं, आपके आईपैड्स भी रहते हैं। सो इट इज टोटली डिफरेंट, उनका बहुत, उनको हर चीज आराम से मिल जा रही है। और स्पेशली जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक पुअर बैकग्राउंड के हैं, उन्होंने तो सिर्फ किताबों से पढ़ाई करी है। सो नेचुरली जब उस कॉलेज में आते हैं, और वो भी द टेक्स्ट बुक्स आर ऑल इन इंग्लिश, सो दे डोंट नो हाउ टू कम्युनिकेट, दे फेस हेल लॉट ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम। एंड फिर वो ग्रेजुअली वो क्या होता है, दिस गैप, instead of reducing this gap, it becomes more widen and widen and widen and widen. So उनकी learning style भी बहुत अलग हो जाती है। So this is why it is important to learn about this student diversity, because इनकी लर्निंग स्टाइल में जो फर्क है, वो ही टीचर को देखना है। एज अ टीचर, वी इट इज आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी to make sure that even though the students are weak, they are not able to follow the say your lectures in English, vernacular background se hai, it is our responsibility to make them understand things, make them learn things, no matter from whatever background that student is coming, no matter कि उस बच्चे ने सिर्फ पढ़ाई किताबों से करी है। अब हम यहाँ पीपीटी से पढ़ाते हैं, they don't understand, many times they don't understand, but we all assume कि हम जो पढ़ा रहे हैं, they are able to follow exactly the way we want them to। तो ये प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं। सो हमें बहुत देखना पड़ता है कि कौन सा उनका बैकग्राउंड क्या था, उनके लैंग्वेज, जो लैंग्वेज ना, लैंग्वेज ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन क्या थे वहाँ पे, उनका घर पे किस तरह का उनको सपोर्ट मिलता था, वेदर दे वर गेटिंग एनी काइंड ऑफ सपोर्ट। लाइक हमारे बच्चों को तो सब तरह का सपोर्ट मिल रहा है, बट वहां से जो बच्चे आ रहे हैं, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सपोर्ट दैट दे यूज्ड टू गेट और दे वर गेटिंग एट होम। ये सारी चीजें बहुत मैटर करती हैं इन द लॉन्ग रन, बिकॉज उनको भी we need to bring these students at par with that of the regular students. That is why it is important now to understand about this student diversity. Diversity also means valuing the differences between people and the way these differences can contribute to a richer, more creative and more productive working environment. Now if some such students are coming and learning something about agriculture, जो एग्रीकल्चर हॉर्टिकल्चर के कोर्सेज होता है, तो ये जो गांव के बच्चे रहते हैं, उनको ज्यादा नॉलेज है। व्हाई? बिकॉज they are having practical experience of actually working in the field। बट हमारे यहाँ के बच्चे जो हैं, उनको इतना केवल ओनली थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज है, उनके पास थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज रहती है, थ्योरेटिकल कॉन्सेप्ट रहते हैं अबाउट एग्रीकल्चर, हार्टिकल्चर, पोल्ट्री एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट। बट सपोज ऐसे ही बच्चे कभी कॉमर्स ले लें, ऐसे ही बच्चे कभी आपके साइंस के सब्जेक्ट ले लें, डेफिनेटली आपको भी लगेगा कि सो मच ऑफ डिफरेंसेस देयर। तो ये फर्क पड़ता है। एंड फिर क्या होता है कि ये जो इस तरह के डिफरेंटेड होते हैं, जो डिफरेंसेस होते हैं, इट एक्चुअली कंट्रीब्यूट्स टू अ रिचर, मोर क्रिएटिव एंड मोर productive working environment. So the diversity actually helps students to learn about the tolerance. It fosters empathy and understanding of different cultures, enriching the overall education experience. That's why it is important कि जितना भी diversity है, we need to make good use of this diversity. इसको negative perspective में नहीं देखना है। यदि हम ये सारी चीजें सीख लेते हैं, यदि हमें समझ में आ जाता है कि भाई यदि कोई वीक स्टूडेंट है और एंड हमको जो है, हम बहुत अच्छे हैं पढ़ने में, तो टीचर को 10 बार समझाना पड़ेगा। सो हमको क्या लगता है कि अच्छा ठीक है, देन वी ग्रेजुअली डेवलप दीज काइंड ऑफ हैबिट्स, टॉलरेंस की हैबिट, एम्पैथी की, भाई ओके वी अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई दिस स्टूडेंट इज स्ट्रगलिंग सो मच। तो ये जब चीजें आ जाती हैं, तो दे बिकम अ मोर रिस्पॉन्सिबल मेंबर्स इन द सोसाइटी। सो दैट इज व्हाई डाइवर्सिटी इज इम्पोर्टेंट। Now, how student diversity enriches the learning environment is the same that I've been telling you. And one more thing out over years is important. Key students learn from the teachers definitely, but they also learn from their peer, perspectives of peer by gaining perspectives of peer. कि यदि कोई बच्चा रूरल एरिया से है या ट्राइबल एरिया से है, हिंदी मीडियम से है, वर्नाक्युलर कोई भी लैंग्वेज ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन था, मतलब जो हिंदी भी नहीं, यदि आप ट्राइबल बच्चों की बात करें तो वो भीली में बात करते हैं। हमारे यहाँ पे पास में एक एरिया है, ट्राइबल एरिया झाबुआ, वहाँ लोग भीली में बात करते हैं। तो ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स जब हमारे कॉलेजेस में आते हैं, हमें पता ही नहीं रहता कि वो क्या भाषा, मतलब वेरी टाइम्स इवन आई फाइंड इट वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू फॉलो देम, क्योंकि जो हमारे वर्कर्स हैं, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू से काइंड ऑफ टेक माय एग्जांपल, ओन पर्सनल एग्जांपल, तो मेरे यहाँ पे एक गार्ड है वो गार्ड जो है वो भीली बोलता है। अब वो कुछ बोलता है तो मुझे समझ ही नहीं आता कि व्हाट इज इज ट्राइंग टू टेल मी। मैंने कहा तुम क्या बोल रहे हो, मुझे नहीं समझ आ रही है, तुम्हें हिंदी नहीं आती है क्या? But of course, what I know that I have to keep this tolerance. Why I cannot shout at him? He's trying his level best to explain me things, but I am not able to kind of, we also need to understand that, many students are there who are not good even in Hindi. Forget about English. So we actually need to help some such students. So they learn from, students learn from one another. Apart from the instructors, whatever that they are learning, they learn from one another. And basically, student diversity prepares learners for their role as responsible member of the society. As I said, if they learn as to how to deal with some such students, who are not that good in the language, who are not good in computers, or who are not good in many aspects. So basically, ultimately, we, learn कि okay, fine, what is it that they understand best. तो हम उनसे उस तरह से भाषा में बात करके और उनको उनसे उनके साथ में एक दूसरे के साथ कोऑपरेट करके उन कोशिश करते हैं कि भाई ये बच्चे भी जो आए हैं हु हैव टेकन एडमिशंस, दे डू नॉट ड्रॉप आउट, they do not drop out in the absence of a particular this thing, यदि language नहीं आ रही है, उनका culture अलग है, so they do not drop out. The idea is to make them complete this education and make them part of the society. It is not their fault that they are born in such a family, isn't it? वो कभी गरीब के घर में पैदा हुए, कभी ट्राइबल एरिया में पैदा हुए, इट्स नॉट द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, एक्चुअली सम सच स्टूडेंट्स। हमको क्या करना है एज अ टीचर और एज अ स्टूडेंट peer, we need to help some such students, because now that they have already got admissions, so it is our responsibility to make sure that they complete their education and they be part of the society and become a responsible member of the society. So student diversity basically promotes harmony, and diversity again is all about respecting individuals. So any questions so far? Any questions so far? Is it clear? Participant, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So let us try and see one video I have. आपने बहुत देखा होगा. It is to do with the linguistic diversity. तो मुझे लगता है कि एक आपको याद ताजी हो जाएगी यदि हम उसको देखेंगे तो. Let us play this particular video called it's based on linguistic diversity actually. अब हम लोग तो सुनते सुनते बड़े हुए हैं, तो इसलिए आपको अच्छा लगेगा. I think you all will enjoy this. Let us see from where I can play. Okay. Stop presenting. Okay. Now let me go there. Open this. Okay. See this one. I'm sure आपने सबने देखा होगा. But this is to just one example based on linguistic diversity.
मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा तो सुर बने हमारा सुर की नदिया हर दिशा से बहके सागर में मिले बादलों का रूप लेकर बरसे हल्के हल्के मिले सुर मेरा तेरा सुर मिले मेरे सुर से ना मिलके बड़े ना सुरताल मेरे सुर मेरा तुम्हारा तू सुर बने हमारा जो सुर्ख जैसा प्यारा मिले तुझे गीत असा जो मधुर तरानो बड़े सुनता दरिया बहके सागर में मिले बदला का रूप रखे बरसन बोले बोले இதேதா நம் இருவரின் குரமும் கவதாகும் இதை சேரானாலும் ஆழிசேர் ஆறுகள் முகிலாய் மழையாய் பொழிவது போல் இசை நம் இசை സ്വരവും നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്വരവും നമ്മുടെ സ്വരമായി जो तारो मारो बने आपनो सुर निहारो सुर की नदियाँ हरी दिशाते बहके बरसे हल्के हल्के ओ मिले सुर नीला तुम्हारा नीला तुम्हारा ओ सुर बने हमारा
Okay, so coming back to the presentation. Well, you have seen this number of times, but just I thought that, I should share it once again, because this will remind you that what kind of diversity, we are having it in our country. And this is what, when we are, sorry, just a second. This is what is, we know that with this much of diversity, we are living with so much of peace and harmony in our country. But when we are living in the country with so much of peace and harmony, so how it happens, how it happens, because this is the kind of a training we are giving to our students also. That is, no matter what language the student is speaking, whether vernacular hai, Hindi hai, English hai, no matter what religion that they are following, what customs that they are having, whatever festivals that they are, having in their different geographical region, we need to kind of, respect each one of us, because we are unique, we are individual, and then only we can talk about this kind of harmony. बट अभी आप देख रहे होंगे कि इतनी हारमनी पहले जैसी नहीं रह गई है, नो मैटर व्हाट वी आर एनईपी 2020 पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट भी जो है वो यही बोल रहा है कि नहीं, दैट डाइवर्सिटी इज इम्पोर्टेंट। एंड अब तो दूसरी तरह की डाइवर्सिटी आ रही है, एज आई सेड, वी आई गिव यू द एग्जांपल, इट्स नॉट जस्ट द स्टूडेंट्स, रेगुलर नॉर्मल स्टूडेंट्स, but we are having students who are again having some disability in terms of physical disabilities there, mental disabilities there. So all kind of students are there, transgenders bhi aa rahe hain, socioeconomic disadvantaged groups ke bhi bacche aa rahe hain. So this is what we need to understand, and this we need to make our students understand and learn. That is, in order to have a better society, we must live in peace, and we must have a good cooperation amongst one another, with one another. So this was all about diversity, and diversity में उनके thoughts भी अलग होते हैं. So diversity about the people and about the different, about the perspectives. Now we are moving towards inclusive education, but before that, this word called equity. Equity. So equity means, yeah, I took you back to the childhood. Yes. So one word is equity. So equity is different from equality. And when we are talking about equity in higher education or any this thing, academic institutions, equity is more important than equality. Reason is very simple, because we need to provide resources to the students based on their need. हम equality की बात नहीं कर सकते, because equality की बात करेंगे, that means giving equal set of resources to every student. Now if a student is weak, or a poor student who cannot afford to buy a book, so what do? We know that in the library, if that poor student is going to go, he will get two books. Likewise, if a general category student or regular normal student who actually can, afford to have books from the market, usko bhi aap 2 books de rahe ho. So it is like, we are not talking about equality here. 2 books आपने एक बच्चे को दे दी जिसको की जरूरत नहीं है, और 2 बुक ऐसे बच्चे को दे दी जिसको की 2 बुक से ज्यादा चाहिए. But because the rule says कि we cannot issue you more than 2 books. So what we have started doing, we are having now book banks in the library. तो book banks में क्या है, these people also who are really poor, who cannot afford to buy books from the market, at one time they can get 3 to 4 books, and then they can keep the books there with them for the entire year, or at least for the entire semester. So we have to now focus on equity part, equity in policy and practice, and not about the equality in higher education. And now we are going to move further, try and understand about the inclusive education. So what is inclusive education? The concept of inclusive education goes like, it includes all the students who are away from the education for any reasons. जो students जो कभी भी classrooms में नहीं आ पा रहे थे for some reason or other, like students who were physically handicapped, mentally challenged, economically challenged or deprived, or belonging to any caste, creed and gender. पहले हमने इसे बोला 40 years back, all these kind of students were not there in the classroom, but not anymore. And you get all these kind of students also in the classrooms, you get to see, and they are taking admissions because we are reserving seats for them. So this is what is the concept of inclusive education, that students who are not able to afford the education previously, now also they are studying together with that of the normal set of students, like any other say this thing, जैसे कोई उसमें हम कास्ट क्रीड वगैरह किसी में भी कोई डिफरेंशिएशन हम नहीं करते, और हर तरह के बच्चे हमारे साथ में, हम खुद पढ़ा भी रहे हैं और हमारे बच्चे एक दूसरे के साथ बैठ भी रहे हैं. So inclusive education is a process that involves basically transformation of academic institutions. हमारी academic institutions को change होने की जरूरत है, बिकॉज यदि कोई फिजिकली चैलेंज स्टूडेंट आता है तो हमें naturally we need to ensure that the building is having lift there in the building, the buildings are having ramps, The colleges are having wheelchairs for some such students who which actually can help these students, to move from one floor to another floor. So ये सारी चीजों के लिए हमारे academic institutions को change होना पड़ेगा. And of course, यदि हम नहीं करेंगे तो what is going to happen again? These students will always be outside the institutions because the academic institutions are not ready. Similarly, यदि कोई blind student आता है तो we need to ensure that we have some books and material available in braille. Library में हमारे braille में भी कुछ books होनी चाहिए. Then there are some softwares, if you install these softwares, तो उसमें जो content रहता है, written content is there which can be translated into audio format. So ऐसे हमें इस तरह के softwares भी खरीदने चाहिए. So that actually basically the idea is to help these students. And पहले तो नहीं आते थे, but now that they are coming, so now it is our responsibility of the institutions to change, to transform, so that we really can cater to the students who are coming from this kind of a background, like who are physically challenged, who are visually impaired. Basically, inclusive education is all about the students who have basically exceptional learning needs, students with special needs. इसके बारे में हमको इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन के बारे में बात करने के लिए एनईपी जो 2020 का जो हमारा पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट है, इट इज फोकसिंग टू काइंड ऑफ एंटरटेन स्टूडेंट्स एंड टू प्रमोट इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन इन आवर हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम. सो एनईपी क्या बोल रहा है कि इट सेज दैट every citizen has the opportunity to dream, thrive and contribute to the nation. Suppose if a student is physically challenged, ठीक है, so उसका brain very physically challenged है, brain तो उसका challenge नहीं है ना, brain is not challenged, so he can dream, he can think, he can contribute to the say development of our country, he can contribute in the development of our country. And when we are talking about India becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047, so therefore it is important to provide opportunity to some such students also to be part of our higher education system. Basically, the idea is to empower them socially, to empower them economically. So every citizen has the opportunity to dream, thrive, and contribute to the nation. And the idea is based on the human rights approach. When we say that don't leave anyone behind, सब human rights का यही तो है कि don't say kind of you need to educate each and every person. And basically NEP also aims at creating an inclusive culture and also in achieving an inclusive society. So how can we achieve an inclusive society? If there's going to be a difference, between the normal set of people, then from the students who are, or from the people who are, physically challenged, visually impaired, mentally challenged. So we need to mitigate the differences by providing them with education, by empowering them academically, so that they are more empowered socially and economically also. Now, definition of inclusive education. Let us see the definition. It says it is defined as a learning environment that promotes the full personal, academic, and professional development of all learners, irrespective of their class, color, gender, disability, sexual preference, learning styles, and languages. मतलब inclusive education का मतलब ही यही है, to promote full personal, academic, and professional development of a student. Okay, no matter from whatever background they are coming from. Inclusive education is also a new approach towards educating the children with disability and learning difficulties with that of the normal ones within the same roof. आपने शायद देखा है कि नहीं पता नहीं, एक्सपीरियंस किया होगा. Previously, the students who were blind, they were actually not given admissions in higher education system, and उनके लिए अलग schools होते थे. And for college education, I know most of the blind students were completing their graduation and post graduation from open university called IGNU. I've seen many students, especially I was a flying squad member there in the examination of IGNU. We used to have a center, अभी भी है शायद. वहाँ पे हम जाते थे तो वहाँ पे मैंने देखा कि वहाँ सिर्फ blind students थे ना, they used to write down their exams. Some students were able to write on their own. Some students were taking help of the scribes also. So I was really astonished and surprised कि इनको अलग से क्यों रखा गया है. तो बोले कि बिकॉज इनको नॉर्मल सेट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स के साथ इनको एडमिशन नहीं दिया जाता है, इनको अलग से पढ़ना पड़ता है, इनके लिए बुक्स अलग से हैं, इनके लिए सब कुछ अलग से है. सो आई वाज at that time I was really not very this thing because I was also not knowing anything about inclusive education. ये मैं आपको बता रही हूँ करीब 15 साल पहले की बात. तो मैंने कहा ये इनको अलग से पढ़ा रहे हैं, पता नहीं क्या है, आई डोंट नो, आई एक्चुअली कुड नॉट गेट इट. But now that when I say kind of remember that, and अब मैं उसको recall करती हूँ तो मेरे को लगता है अच्छा okay fine, this was the case because our institutions actually were not ready. Why they were not ready? हमारे पास बुक्स नहीं थे, हमारे पास बुक्स नहीं थे, हमारे पास ऐसे टाइपराइटर्स नहीं थे, जो टाइपराइटर्स होते हैं ना, उस ऐसे टाइपराइटर ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स के लिए ऐसे टाइपराइटर्स होते हैं जो ब्रेल में होते हैं, एंड देन दे वर वी वर नॉट हैविंग कैलकुलेटर्स जो स्पीकिंग या टॉकिंग कैलकुलेटर्स होते हैं. So this all things were facilities were missing in our higher education institutions. That's why we were not able to give them admissions with that of the regular set of students. बट अब हमारे यहाँ इंस्टीट्यूशंस में भी हम लोगों के यहाँ सब ऐसी फैसिलिटीज हमने अपने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, स्पेशली ब्लाइंड स्टूडेंट्स के लिए हमने अपने यहाँ पे वो करा रखा है. मतलब वी हैव काइंड ऑफ प्रोवाइड, वी इफ इट ऑल दे कम वी एक्चुअली कैन प्रोवाइड देम, and these facilities we procured after we got some such students in our university. हमें पता नहीं था, जब ये आए तो इन्होंने हमें बताया कि ऐसा होता है, ऐसा this kind of things are there, these facilities are there. After that we purchased some such softwares. After that we purchased typewriters which were there in braille. Books हमने खरीदी, कुछ material हमने softwares खरीदे. But 14-15 years back also this kind of concept was not prevailing. It was not prevailing in our higher education system. So that is what education, this is a new approach towards educating the children with disability and who are having learning difficulties with that of the normal ones within the same roof. It aims to ensure that every student feels a sense of belonging, no matter a student is blind, no matter a student is mentally challenged. Because आपको मैं ऐसे examples दूं अभी यहाँ पे, if you take the example of Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is a physicist, we all know how much he has contributed in the area of physics. जिन्होंने black hole theory पे अभी बहुत काम किया, and I think he also got the Nobel Prize. आप देखो कि ऐसे student, he was suffering from neurological disorders, multiple neurological disorders, but he also completed his education from the university. उनको तो PhD भी उन्होंने करी है. बट हमारे इंडिया में ऐसे कोई इंस्टीट्यूशंस में आपको ऐसे बच्चे देखने को नहीं मिलेंगे. से फॉर एग्जांपल आपके वहां पे एग्जांपल मैंने आपको स्टीफन हॉकिंग का दिया. सिमिलरली आई गिव यू द एग्जांपल ऑफ थॉमस एडिसन. ही वाज नॉट एबल टू हियर. उनको जो है बहुत दिनों तक उनको सुनाई नहीं पड़ता था. देन आई कैन गिव यू द एग्जांपल ऑफ दिस साइंटिस्ट, व्हाट्स हिज नेम, अल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन. अल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन तो था, ही वाज सफरिंग फ्रॉम एचडीएडी. मतलब आई वाज हाइपर दिस थिंग, लाइक टीचर्स ने उसको मना कर दिया. द स्कूल में व्हेन दे वर, he was there, he was taken to the school, the teachers refused to put him and he was debarred. उन्होंने कहा हम इस बच्चे को नहीं पढ़ा सकते. And then of course we have seen the kind of invention Albert Einstein has done it. उसको लोग वैसे ही पागल बोलते थे. बट पागल लोगों के लिए एजुकेशन सिस्टम में जगह नहीं हो, दिस इज समथिंग वेरी सरप्राइजिंग. स्कूल से निकाल दिया, बट देन लेटर ऑन ही कंप्लीटेड हिज एजुकेशन फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्सिटी. सो दैट इज व्हाई ही बिकेम अ साइंटिस्ट. बट इन आवर हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम, इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इन इंडिया, दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम कि हमारे यहाँ वो फैसिलिटीज ही नहीं है कि हम इन बच्चों को पढ़ा सकें. It aims to ensure that every student feels a sense of belonging and is provided with equal opportunities for learning and participation. This is what is the thing which we all need to understand, that if a student is coming who is having a special need, we need to also make sure that we get them all the facilities and we give them equal opportunities to learn and participate. Idea is leave no one behind. Now this is the quadrant, 4 quadrant: exclusion, segregation, integration and inclusion. हम इसको बहुत फटाफट देखते हैं. Exclusion में I've already told you around 30 years back they were not made to be part of our higher education system. ऐसे जो बच्चे थे जिनको special needs थी, उनको हम लोगों ने कभी कॉलेज में एडमिशन नहीं दिया. They were never been made part of our higher education system. So this is a quadrant of exclusion. मतलब they were kind of left behind or to manage things on their own. And बस पढ़ना लिखना दूर की बात थी. उनके लिए स्कूल्स होते थे but never given seats. I mean they never had seats there in higher education system. Then segregation होने लगा बाद में. फिर हमने उनके लिए अलग से स्कूल्स खोले, उनके कॉलेजेस होने लगे जहाँ उनको दूसरी तरह से हम उनको पढ़ाने की कोशिश करने लगे. But then still they were not very happy. Why they were not happy, you can very well say kind of thing understand. There was always a gap between the regular people and the people with special needs. जब ये सोसाइटी में साथ में आते हैं तो हमें समझ ही नहीं आता है, इनकी बातें नहीं समझ में आती हैं। ये सोचते हैं हम पागल हैं, हम सोचते हैं ये पागल है, बिकॉज वी आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड ईच अदर। उनमें हमेशा एक कॉम्प्लेक्स रहता है, जो अलग स्कूल सेट ऑफ स्कूल से पढ़े हैं, अलग सेट ऑफ कॉलेज से पढ़े, दे ऑलवेज हैव अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ, उनके व्यूज अलग होंगे, उनके ओपिनियन हमारे लिए अलग है, हमारे ओपिनियन इनके लिए अलग है, and they always have this adjustment problems with the regular set of people. So this segregation again was not working. That is what government realized कि भाई ये भी ऐसा भी ठीक नहीं है कि उनके लिए अलग कल स्कूल खोल दिया, अलग कॉलेज खोल दिया। Then integration की बात आने लगी कि नहीं भाई, they should also be made part of our से academic से system। तो schools में भी बैठाने लगे। अब schools में तो अब होने लगा है, but in colleges still it is not that prevalent, तो अब colleges में भी NEP में बात हुई है कि they should actually be given admissions and they should also be made to learn with the regular set of students। but problem अभी भी है। like for example हमारे academic institutions are not ready, as I was giving you the example कि हमारे यहाँ कई इंस्टीट्यूशंस में आपको पूछ सकते, लाइक नैक की विजिट होती है तो सबसे पहले यही पूछते हैं ना हम लोग आके, एंड आपको भी एक्सपीरियंस होगा दैट वी डेफिनेटली गो एंड आस्क, बिकॉज आई एम आल्सो ट्रैवलिंग एज अ पीआर टीम मेंबर, so we always check whether the institution is having ramp or not, whether the institution, if it is a multi-story building, whether they have installed this lifts there or not। फिर उनके बैठने के लिए कुछ अलग से क्लासरूम में जो है स्पेस बनाई है कि सो दैट दे डू नॉट गेट हर्ट। यदि कोई विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड है तो हमें देखना पड़ेगा कि हमारे डेस्क एंड चेयर्स ऐसी ना हो सो दैट दीज काइंड ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स कैन गेट हर्ट, इनके लिए अलग वॉशरूम्स होते हैं, इनके लिए हमें व्हील चेयर्स भी रखनी पड़ती हैं। So all this kind of a thing we have to ensure that, so academic institutions need to change, and all we need to provide them with all the kind of facilities that they need। तो इंटीग्रेशन में ये होने लगा कि बैठाने लगे, लेकिन फिर उनकी बातों को कोई ढंग से सुनता ही नहीं है। क्लासरूम ऊपर है तो बच्चा पहुंच नहीं पा रहा है और टीचर कहती है जी आई विल गिव यू नोट्स लेटर ऑन, प्लीज बेयर विद दिस, राइट नाउ यू कैन डू एनीथिंग दैट यू वांट टू, क्योंकि लिफ्ट नहीं है आपके पास में, रैम्प्स नहीं है, तो बच्चा ऊपर कैसे जाएगा। सिमिलरली यदि विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड है तो आपके पास स्क्राइबर नहीं है, हाउ डू यू हेल्प दिस काइंड ऑफ स्टूडेंट टू राइट हिज एग्जाम और हर एग्जाम। तो ये सारी चीजों के कारण फिर क्या हुआ, इंटीग्रेशन की बात होने तो लगी, बट स्टिल दे वर नॉट बीन गिवन दैट काइंड ऑफ अ फैसिलिटी एज एक्चुअली दीज स्टूडेंट्स दे वांटेड। फिर बात आई इंक्लूजन की। नाउ दैट एनईपी इज फोकसिंग एंड नाउ दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन कि भाई हमको वो फैसिलिटीज इन बच्चों को, स्पेशली इन बच्चों में students who have special kind of a need, they need to be made part of the group classroom, made part of the classroom, and like any other student make them also learn। I'll give you just 1-2 examples very quickly। एक anecdote सी बता रही, शेयर कर रही हूँ आपके साथ में। I was taking a session in one of the center in Manu just last week only, last week में था, and there was one this teacher, I'm not going to take his name, but he was a blind teacher sitting there, he was attending NEP program। Likewise from my center, this DAVV, I'm also working because I'm also director in MMTTC, so likewise and from my center also there was one teacher who was attending this NEP program, orientation sensitization program, and he also was a blind teacher। हमें मालूम ही नहीं था कि that, and that fellow also he told me when I gave this example of this particular teacher of my center, I said there was one teacher who was attending this NEP program like you all are attending, and then later on he said ki ma'am I know him because I am the secretary of the blind this thing teacher association, and I am the secretary and I know that fellow very well, some Chaudhary। I said acha, you know him। And these two people, they completed their education from academic institution like ours, like from the university, and they both of them are kind of now teaching as a faculty in some college here and there। He is somewhere in South Andhra, Telangana, and this guy जिसका मैं आपको एग्जांपल दे रही थी, is working as a faculty in Madhya Pradesh। So just see that nowadays some such students are completing their education, but again let me tell you the experiences that they shared, it was very disheartening to hear। They said कि madam we don't get the support as actually we should be getting in the higher education system, which is very unfortunate। दोनों का एक ही एक्सपीरियंस था कि जब हम वहाँ जाते थे क्लास में, तो इनफैक्ट जो थे डॉक्टर चौधरी, he completed his PhD also from here, one of the university, and he said madam हमने तो बीच में पढ़ाई छोड़ दी थी, like I dropped out after first year, matlab in first year only, I just decided not to continue with my education. And that is what he said, because kind of support which I was expecting from my teachers, I was not getting. Whereas your classmates say, they were kind of making mockery, joke about me, कि I'm a blind student sitting there in the classroom. So then I said कि फिर क्या हुआ, आप तो आपने तो PhD करी हुई है sir. Then he said कि no, one of my teacher, he came to my house and he said, uh, just make sure that he starts coming to the college. And he said he took this responsibility of mine, and he told this to my father कि he will be my responsibility from today. So please make sure that he comes and attends this thing, his completes his education from the college. So that is how I completed my graduation, and then later on I did my post graduation and PhD also, and now I'm a teacher. So that is what they were, both of them. They had the similar kind of an experience, saying that we are not taken seriously. Our ideas are not taken seriously, and जो हम बोलते हैं उसको seriously ये लोग नहीं लेते हैं. So that is why we kind of drop out, which is very unfortunate. But now that as a teacher we need to ensure that whenever these students, some such students, they come to our mm, college, when they are in the college or in the class, they do complete their education, and we need to support them. We need to provide all kind of facilities to them, whatever facilities that they want. So inclusive education is all about how we develop and design our institutions, how we design our programs and activities, that these students also can learn together and participate together with that of the normal set of students. The action or state of including or of being included within a group or structure is called inclusion. That is basically, the idea is make people feel welcomed. यदि कोई बच्चा special need के साथ में है, so you need to welcome these kind of students also. Please do not exclude them, and also extend respect to some such students. This I can skip. I have already told you about equity and equality. And aims and objectives of inclusive education. It says education is for all. So that means it is for all means which includes the students with special needs also. Basically, idea is to protect their rights, and idea is to develop the social consciousness. बहुत ज़रूरी है social consciousness की, क्योंकि भाई हम कहते हैं कि we want to have a harmonious society. So definitely development of social consciousness can take place only when we have students within the classroom with special needs also. Otherwise हमें उनकी needs के बारे में पता नहीं, what do they think, we don't know anything about it. So that idea is to help develop this social consciousness there in the classroom as well as in the society, development of brotherhood, and also to improve the quality of education. And this particular quotation by George Evans is beautiful, which says every student can learn, just not on the same day or the same manner. Yes, students who are blind, who are mentally challenged also can learn, not necessarily on the same day, but they will also learn, and not necessarily in the similar fashion, but they also can learn. Only thing is, we should not say feel, ये जो एक फीलिंग होती है ना कि दे कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग, सो दिस काइंड ऑफ अ फीलिंग शुड नॉट बी देयर. हमारे अंदर ये फीलिंग आ जाती है कि ये बच्चे तो कर नहीं सकते. इट इज नॉट ट्रू, दे ऑल कैन डू. Only thing is that we need to say kind of provide them with the right kind of a support, so they all can learn, not necessarily on the same day and in the similar fashion. और principles of inclusive education की बात करते हैं तो that of course first thing first is that there should not be any discrimination with the students. हम ही ये बोल देते हैं, अरे ये बच्चा ब्लाइंड है, इसको कितना कैसे पढ़ाएं, कैसे होगा, ये तो कर ही नहीं सकेगा. वी ओनली डिस्क्रिमिनेट. अभी उसकी बात छोड़ दीजिए स्पेशल नीड्स की बच्चों की. यदि हमारे साथ में कोई वीक बच्चे आते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ द स्टूडेंट्स आर देयर कमिंग फ्रॉम सोशियो इकोनॉमिक डिसएडवांटेज ग्रुप, SC/ST स्टूडेंट्स हैं, एंड वी स्टार्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेटिंग. व्हाई? क्योंकि जो बच्चे बहुत वोकल होते हैं, दे आर गुड इन स्टडीज, हम उन्हीं से इंटरेक्शन करते हैं. वी डोंट इवन लुक टुवर्ड्स द डायरेक्शन, जो बैक बेंचर्स हैं जिनको समझ नहीं आ रहा. We ourselves are responsible somewhere that we start discriminating within the students. ये तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते. We need to provide or extend equal educational opportunities. Institutions basically need to adapt to the need of the student. What do they want? How best they can? How can they be taught? What is the best mechanism by which we can teach them? So basically, institutions also need to adapt to the need of the students. Equal educational benefits be given to all the students. क्योंकि भाई कोई बच्चा यदि ब्रेल में पढ़ना चाहे तो हमें कुछ ब्रेल की किताबें भी खरीदनी पड़ेगी। नॉट दैट आई एम सेइंग कि पूरा स्टैक अप भर दीजिए, पर एटलीस्ट गिव देम द सॉफ्टवेयर, सॉफ्टवेयर भी ऐसे हैं जो कंटेंट को ट्रांसलेट करके ऑडियो फॉर्मेट में कर सकते हैं। And if you are kind of giving this kind of a facility also to the blind students, we can really help some students, with special needs. Students' views should be listened to and taken seriously. And of course, individual differences between students are a source again of richness and diversity, and it should not be considered as a problem. Now, if we see inclusive educational justification, भाई जरूरत ही क्या inclusive education की? यदि हम आपसे पूछें कि भाई क्या जरूरत है कि हम पढ़ाएं इनको, और इनके लिए अलग schools ना हो, इनके लिए अलग colleges और universities ना हो, so definitely यदि एजुकेशनल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हम उसका जस्टिफिकेशन देखें तो एक चीज हमें मालूम होनी चाहिए, समझनी चाहिए कि irrespective of talent, disability, socioeconomic status, cultural origin, and they need to be brought down together in the mainstream of the society, mainstream of the academic institution. उनको हम ये छोड़ नहीं सकते हैं. This is what we need to understand, that need of all the students is required to be met. We need to prepare them for the life so that they are socially empowered, economically empowered. It's very, very important. So that is why from educational point of view, this inclusive education is very important. Yes, it will inculcate sensitivity also towards one another. And society actually should take conscious decision to operate according to the social values. हम किसी को भी छोड़ नहीं सकते. यदि social values की बात कर रहे हैं तो just based on their this disability, we cannot say kind of leave them. कुछ उनकी डिसेबिलिटी है, मेंटल डिसेबिलिटी है, फिजिकल डिसेबिलिटी है, विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड है, so we cannot actually leave anyone behind. The idea is also to improve the professional skills of the teachers. If we really want to help these kind of students, हमारे प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स को भी इम्प्रोवाइज करने की जरूरत है. Again, why inclusive education is important from the sociological point of view? We need our societies to be more sensitive, as ma'am said rightly, that it inculcates the sensitivity, towards the people, some such people. So our society needs the academic institution actually which values, like wider social acceptance, peace and cooperation. देन एक्चुअली यदि हम सेग्रीगेशन एजुकेशन में बात करें कि इनके लिए अलग से कॉलेज कर दो, अलग से स्कूल्स कर दो, यूनिवर्सिटीज कर दो, सो डेफिनेटली देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ प्रेजुडिस, ऑलवेज इज गोइंग टू रिमेन, दिस प्रेजुडिस विल ऑलवेज रिमेन. एंड segregate education teaches children to be fearful, ignorant. And if we go for inclusive education, this will reduce these aspects, and of course it will build friendships, respect and understanding. So that is why from sociological point of view also, if you see, this inclusive education is important. We don't want this gap, we want to mitigate this gap. जो bridging की बात कर रहे हैं, we want to bridge this gap. So that is why from sociological point of view, this inclusive education is important. Economical point of view, say inclusive education is equally important. Why? Because higher education is widely acknowledged as a key driver of economic growth and productivity. Now, if these students also kind of are empowered, empowered like academically, they can contribute. They can contribute in the GDP of our country, And as what is the report of UN? UNESCO, UN is that out of 700 million disabled persons of world, 10% disabled people are residing in India. So just imagine if we educate them, if we empower them academically, they also can contribute in the GDP of our country. And when you are saying कि हम विकसित भारत बनेंगे by 2047, how do you become a विकसित भारत or developed country when you are leaving this 700 disabled people behind? So the thing is, idea is to educate them, and so that they can also contribute in the economy of our country, in the GDP of our country. And then humanitarian point of view से भी inclusive education की बात करें तो same thing is there कि if we are not going to educate them, what is going to happen? They will always have this kind of inferiority complex, कि that हम में तो कुछ कम है. That's why we are not there in the academic institutions like colleges, good colleges and universities, and जो normal बच्चे हैं, set of students हैं, उनको तो पढ़ाई करने का opportunity मिल रही है, और हमारे को तो just because I'm blind, I'm disabled, mentally challenged. So this should not be the case, So ultimately वो problem वही होगी. They will be having less of confidence, they will not be that motivated, and they will not be having positivity also towards the society. This kind of problems will be there if we will not put them together under the same roof as that of the regular set of students. This is what is going to be the problem, and society where they will have problem of adjustment and things like that. So that's why humanitarian point of view से भी आप देखिए तो inclusive education is very important. Democratic point of view से we are saying we are living in a democratic society. What democratic society? That you are not giving admissions to some such students who have special needs. So to bring disabled children in the mainstream of education, to have a fair set of ethical and equitable measures need to be taken to avoid this kind of a discrimination. If we want really in true sense this to live the spirit of this democracy, we naturally need to say kind of provide them equal set of education with that of the regular students. Now, what are the issues in inclusive education? यदि हम बातें करें कि issues क्या हैं, problems क्या हैं, भाई बातें तो बहुत हो रही हैं, but why is it that it is not being done? What is there which is hindering this inclusive education? So lack of competencies among the teachers is first thing. Large class size, again, when you have a size batch size of say 70 students, and there is one student who is visually impaired, you don't know how to balance, how to strike a balance between the normal and the normal students and the students who are having special set of needs. So large size classroom size again is a problem, which actually is not allowing this allowing us to go in for this inclusive education. Our curriculum is very rigid. Again, see, when I was giving you the example of Stephen Hawking and Thomas Edison and this Albert Einstein, तो वहाँ पे इतनी rigidity नहीं है. जहाँ जो हम बात करते हैं कि our curriculum is really it's a watertight compartment kind of a thing. वहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. वहाँ पे आपको जिस बच्चे की जैसी रिक्वायरमेंट है, जैसी नीड है, उसके हिसाब से ठीक है, we are giving them facilities, but at the same time teachers are also kind of professionally skilled to deal with some such students. And then third thing is that the teachers are giving them some extra time. हमारे यहाँ हमारे टीचर्स के पास में टाइम ही नहीं है. Once we say kind of come out of the classroom, we think okay, today I have completed this chapter without even understanding how much they have understood. So that is what is the problem कि curriculum पे rigid है, teachers के पास भी time नहीं है, because again we are bombarded with so many, मतलब not bombarded, we are having so many other responsibilities. कोई तो जो है टीचर के साथ में एनएसएस कोऑर्डिनेटर भी है, कोई एडमिशन कमेटी का भी मेंबर है, कोई आपके एग्जामिनेशन का भी है. सो मेनी थिंग्स दैट बाहर कंट्रीज में ऐसा नहीं है. इफ अ टीचर इज देयर, ही और शी इज रिक्वायर्ड ओनली टू टीच. यहाँ पे इतनी सारी आपने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज हमारे ऊपर थोप रखी है. यू इम्पोज सो मेनी नंबर ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज. दैट इज व्हाट इज अ प्रॉब्लम. देन inadequate pre-service training and professional development. That is what I was talking about, that we are not trained basically as to how to handle some such students. Then some students are also not coming, the students with special needs are also not that motivated to come and take admissions in colleges and the universities. Dearth of facilities, पेरेंटल अवेयरनेस. भाई बच्चे यदि हमारे घर में यदि कोई ऐसा ब्लाइंड स्टूडेंट है, यदि कोई ब्लाइंड बच्चा है, हम खुद भी बहुत ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल नहीं है कि हाँ, आई डोंट नो, वी आर नॉट दैट दिस थिंग कि टू confident to send our students, I mean our children in colleges and the universities. हमारे में भी एक set of fear है कि I don't know what kind of a treatment they are going to get from the peer there, and teachers भी ठीक से पता उनसे बात करेंगे कि नहीं. So, and then last but not the least, lack of peer sensitization, which plays a very pivotal role, and because of which many a times students they drop out. Like I was giving you the example of these two teachers. एक ने तो खैर बताया, दूसरे ने इतना बात नहीं करी, but he said, ma'am, I was not very comfortable studying there with the normal regular set of students. And our students भी जो है, हमारे students भी sensitive नहीं है. The idea is to make them sensitive, make them sensitive towards some such students who actually have some kind of a special need. Okay. Then all students are not equal. ये एक छोटा सा मैंने यहाँ पे लिया है. This is a kind of a mockery on us. जब हम ये कहते हैं as a teacher that I'm very fair and I'm being a very fair kind of a teacher, I'm going to give you one set of test. And one set of test, what was that one set of test? That he's saying that you climb the tree. Now tell me one thing, when there are students who are kind of blind, or some other kind of say problem that student is facing or having, how do you expect to get same set of questions? We know that he will not be able to, or she will not be able to pass that exam. ये टीचर यही तो कर रहा है कि that see I'm a very fair teacher and everybody has to take the same exam, that is to climb the tree. Only a crow I think can fly on the tree, or at max monkey can fly on the tree, not otherwise, you know. So this is what is the problem. जब हमारे पास इस तरह के बच्चे आएंगे तो हमें ये भी देखना है कि हम उनके एग्जाम कैसे कंडक्ट करें, you know. So it's very, very important. And all students are not equal. This is like all students are not equal. We know that our students are not equal. And if a student cannot, this is what Ignacio Estrada is saying, that if a student cannot learn the way we teach, then maybe we should teach the way they learn. If a student cannot learn the way we teach, then maybe we should teach the way they learn, is what is the punchline, you know. कि यदि हमारा बच्चा यदि हम जैसा पढ़ा रहे हैं उसको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, so maybe we should teach the way we learn. Basically idea is to customize our teaching, you know. We need to customize our teaching, and so that we can meet the needs of all our students. And we know that our students they learn differently. सारे students अलग तरीके से सीखते हैं, you know. And that is why it is important for us now as a teacher to understand भाई क्या students की क्या need है, and so accordingly if we can, you know, teach them so that each one of them can learn equally with that of the rest of the students. Then teaching strategies. These are some of the teaching strategies for inclusive education, and which say that if you have some such students with special needs, you need to go in for cooperative learning rather than, you know, teacher coming and teaching there in the classroom. If we make them say being part of the group, so usme group mein kya hota hai, they can learn from one another. So cooperative learning is very important in some such case. Peer tutoring, you know, teamwork, pairing, and then of course multisensory teaching. Multisensory means, you know, you need to have some such three-dimensional models. Maybe you can have a typewriter which is there in braille, talking calculator, or maybe 3D जो आपके वो होते हैं ना, ये globes वगैरह, so that, you know, students can touch and they can feel it, you know. Okay, fine, this is where this location of India is, you know, जो geographical आपके globes वगैरह होते हैं, so that they can touch and they can feel and can learn. So this kind of a teaching strategy should be adopted by the teachers when we are going in for inclusive education. So these are the different approaches made by the government of India to promote access and inclusion in higher education. So we know that there are two stages this promotion is taking place. Promotion of inclusive education is taking place. जो हम inclusivity की बात कर रहे हैं. So when we are talking about this inclusivity in higher education, that is what we are discussing about. So at two levels, you know, we can promote this inclusion or higher education, to promote inclusive education and inclusivity in higher education. So sorry. So at the time of admission, what we are doing, what the government is doing, उन्होंने क्या किया, accessibility को वो करने के लिए, to have this accessibility, they are now at the admission phase, they are giving this reservation policy. जो हमारी reservation policy है, आप देखिए उससे क्या हो रहा है कि when we are keeping seats reserved for them, उससे क्या होता है कि that students who are not able to come who are not able to come and take admissions in higher education system, that is in colleges and the university. So government has made this reservation policy where students are kind of getting the admission because the seats are reserved, and it is talking about democracy, equality and social justice, and also unrepresented groups where now are getting due set of this thing, you know, due set of credit, and they are taking admissions. And after that, once they take admissions, so then the government is kind of having many kind of schemes in terms of, you know, they are given scholarships, so that they, in the absence of financial barriers, they do not drop out, they complete their education. The idea behind this scholarship is that each of the students who actually are coming from underrepresented groups, they do not drop out in the absence of finance. So in financial barriers को भी कम करने के लिए उनको जो है आपने उनको क्लास में आने के बाद में आप उनको फाइनेंस से मतलब आप स्कॉलरशिप देते हो, उनको पोस्ट मैट्रिक स्कॉलरशिप देते हो. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की है अंडर प्रिविलेज ग्रुप्स के लिए बहुत सारी स्कॉलरशिप्स हैं, एंड मेनी ऑफ द स्टेट्स, यू नो, फी इज बीइंग वेव्ड ऑफ, स्पेशली जो गर्ल चाइल्ड की होती है उनकी फीस भी वेव ऑफ हो जाती है. सो ऑल दिस इज एन इंसेंटिव टू keep these students there in the classroom or in the college or in the universities. So incentive schemes उनके लिए बात करें तो देखिए, once they come they are given the seats are reserved, the scholarships are being provided, and then third is that also hostels are being created, for hostels are being constructed within the campus. Why? So that anybody who is coming from far flung areas, कोई rural से है, कोई tribal से है, and who are not able to commute every day, so उनके लिए क्या कर रहे हैं कि government is giving them funds, to colleges and the universities to construct hostels for some such students, and वहाँ पे आपको भी मालूम है कि उनकी फीस बहुत मिनिमम होती है, कई जगह फीस नहीं भी होती है. So these are some of the incentives. Then there are some institutions who are promoting gender diversity. Say for example, I am Indore, I am Bangalore. Like if the students are having same set of cutoff marks, so if the student is a girl student, so what they are doing, they are giving additional points to the female candidates. That is a very good example of promoting gender diversity in IIMs. Then likewise JNU में आप कभी campus में visit करिए तो JNU is very this campus is very this thing, what should I say, कि they are very disabled friendly institution. This is a disabled friendly institution. JNU का जो मैं आपको example इसलिए दे रही हूँ because every building has a ramp, every building is having lift facility, and they are all having wheelchairs and everything. So this is basically these are some certain examples which is actually promoting diversity. Not just diversity, but also they are promoting inclusive education. Then there is one say set of ministry which is like called as Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. यहाँ पे यदि आप के पास में यदि कोई स्टूडेंट आता है जिसको की रिक्वायरमेंट है, मतलब a student is there with a special need, you can submit a proposal to this ministry, और आप उनको बता सकते हैं कि you are having some such students there, मतलब maybe a blind student or physically challenged student. तो आप यदि उनको बताएंगे तो फिर वो क्या करते हैं, they will give you some additional funds, and with that fund you can procure the equipments, you can procure the instruments, you can install these instruments, and they're also giving some kind of a scholarship to these kind of students. तो ये जो मिनिस्ट्री है वो this is basically to promote accessibility and inclusion in higher education. तो ऐसी मिनिस्ट्री भी उन्होंने यहाँ पे हमारी कंट्री में है, so that कोई भी बच्चे को किसी भी पर्टिकुलर टाइम पे ऐसा ना हो कि that for in the absence of these facilities is not able to complete his education. फिर अब IITs में एक चीज और होने लगी है, like where many SC/ST students are coming and who are not able to keep themselves at par with the regular students, क्योंकि हमेशा उनको problems आती हैं, and that is why they drop out. And many of students, आपने ऐसा भी सुना होगा कि they not just drop out but they take a very drastic step. कई बार आपने सुना होगा, अपने पेपरों में भी पढ़ा होगा कि किसी ने अपनी he has taken his life or her life. SC/ST students में बहुत होता है कि वो अपनी life ले लेते हैं, they just commit suicide because they are not able to keep par with that of the regular students. So अब IITs ने एक ये नया system शुरू किया, that some Bombay IIT का एक मुझे मालूम पता चला कि they are having a special preparatory program for SC/ST students, और उससे क्या होता है कि they are kept there for 1 year, and on the completion of that 1 year they are put together in the regular mainstream of this education. So that basically idea is to help them. SC/ST students को ऐसा है कि यदि उन्होंने JEE का एग्जाम दिया है, so that means they are having brain in the sense that they are able to compete with that of the regular students. कट ऑफ मार्क्स जरूर कम होते हैं, लेकिन जब आ गए तो उसको हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है कि भाई they complete their education, they complete their IIT program also. So that is why this IITs have also started this. Post admission phase की बात करें तो financial support schemes जो हैं, earn while you learn, जो हमारी स्कीम्स हैं, उनको फाइनेंशियल मॉनिटरी कुछ छोटे मोटे उनको स्टाइपेंड मिल जाती है बच्चों को, इस तरह के ट्यूशन फीस वेव ऑफ हो जाती हैं, बुक बैंक फैसिलिटीज होती हैं हमारे कॉलेज में, इंस्टीट्यूशन में, सो दैट दे डू नॉट हैव टू गो आउट टू बाय द बुक्स. सो इस तरह की जो छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं जो हमने गवर्नमेंट ने इंट्रोड्यूस की हैं, सो दैट these children, in the absence of finance, in the absence of regular hand holding and care, they do not drop out. The idea is to help them completing their education. Then we also have remedial programs for the weak students. We know that every institution has remedial classes, going on for the weak students, especially SC/ST students हैं जो vernacular background से आते हैं, who are not able to even speak English. तो उनके लिए हमने language labs establish कर रखे हैं. So all these are there. These are the approaches to promote accessibility and inclusivity in higher education. Towards that, again, inclusion is a right, not a privilege for a selected few. And it's very important to have inclusive education. And by valuing and accommodating learner diversity, educators create an inclusive environment where every student feels respected, supported, and empowered to succeed. These are some of the beautiful quotes given by Abdul J. Kalam, Swami Vivekanand ji. Ultimate quotes हैं जिसमें ये लिखा है कि Swami Vivekanand also says that we need to tolerate the differences when we are having people from different societies in the sense, not that society I'm talking about, general society, but कोई blind society से भी है, कोई disabled society से भी है. तो हमें we have to learn to tolerate the differences, and of course diversity should be respected and celebrated. And inclusive education basically help create cohesive societies. And Abdul J. Kalam का ये बहुत अच्छा quote है. When learning is purposeful, creativity blossoms. When creativity blossoms, thinking emanates. When thinking emanates, knowledge is fully lit. And when knowledge is fully lit, then economy flourishes. And to achieve inclusion and equality, we all need to work together, come together, work together, collaborate with one another, tolerate one another, because none of us is as smart as all of us. And all are welcome. Love is inclusive and not exclusive. So make sure that we actually have this inclusive education, because ultimately, end of the day, end of the this thing is, punch of the days, punch of the this thing is that love is inclusive, not exclusive. So do not exclude people or the students who are having special needs, or who are coming from SC/ST background, who are coming from minority sections. The thing is that we need to empower each and every student whosoever is coming and learning with all of us. So thank you. This is all from my side, and if in case you want to ask any question, I'll be happy to share it out with you. Stop presenting.
So,
And then
thank you so much for a full session. It was really insightful. Now, I'd request participants, if you have any query, you can just put your questions in front of ma'am.
participants, you have any question? I'll be happy to answer. If in case you were there with me all throughout.
Yeah, it was really nice, ma'am.
I have one movie here which I'll share the clipping. आपने शायद देखी होगी. If you have not seen, see this movie called Shrikant. It is a beautiful movie available on Netflix.
Yes,
It is available
already there. Yeah.
It's actually the this moral कहना चाहिए, moral of the story is, yes, that is to promote inclusive education in our higher education system. And
Many of the participants already have seen. They are commenting in the box.
yes, we have seen. So it is a beautiful example, actually, on this of beautiful example of inclusive education in our higher education system. And this is a kind of a, it was a mockery on our higher education system also. He said, if IIT doesn't need me, I don't need IIT. So this is so the thing
Yes.
is, we actually are not prepared. We are not still ready to accommodate some such student. That too, especially in a science stream. And otherwise also, not just only in science stream, we are not really professionally skilled and trained people. So it's important that the time has come. Please address the issue of employability of students with special needs. I have 2-3 examples, ma'am, over here. Like I told you, the examples, abhi I shared this 2 anecdotes. 2 teachers, again, attending an EP orientation sensitization program. One was there in Telangana, another one is here only. And also there is one, this thing, of course, he's not college educated, but he's school educated, and he's a blind, say this thing person. I was visiting one of a college here, and this blind boy, he was operating the lift, because every lift, again, they don't leave this lift unattended. So that lift operator was there, and he was blind. And just by touching, he was able to, like I told him, I want to go to the 4th floor. and he was so comfortable operating those buttons, and he really took me to the fourth floor. And I was like, see, just it's not that we are talking about this, having eyes and not having eyes. But
Mm-hmm.
these people are actually very confident. Only thing is they need to be trained properly. If you
Yes.
give them
Yes.
sufficient this thing, so they
Mhm.
are very and they are able to do so many number of things, which again, as normal people, we are not able. And I gave you the example of many examples of Stephen Hawking. A person like Stephen Hawking is such a wonderful physicist. Gave you
Yes.
the example of Thomas Edison. And हमारे यहाँ इंडिया की बात करें तो आपको पता है अभिषेक बच्चन है, he was suffering from dyslexia. उसको
Exactly.
तो उसको तो प्रॉब्लम सी थी कितनी, he was not able to read, बी उल्टा लिखता था, we used to write it on the right side and he was writing it on the left side. So
Yes.
the idea is, if we educate them properly, if you empower them properly by giving them right kind of education, they can do wonders. बट हमारे academic institutions अभी इतने तैयार नहीं है. The idea is now to that academic institutions need to transform, and also they need to provide right kind of a professional this things training to us also, so that we can handle some with some such students. यदि ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं तो हमें भी नहीं पता कैसे उनको पढ़ाना है, कैसे उनके साथ डील करना है. We are not having sufficient facilities. So now the time has come that their NEP policy document is saying that we need to include some such students also who are having special needs. Yes, Jyoti ma'am, you want to ask me some question?
I don't want to ask. I just want to share one thing, one wonderful thing. Actually, I have seen a program of government, Divya Kala Shakti. There is a program where is the differently able students, are young boys and girls, are performing together, like they are doing stunts in a different way. That was amazing experience for me. It was it is a great program of government, Divya Kala
Okay,
Shakti. There are so many programs like
okay.
creative works, performances, and all. So it's very great thing to
Uh-huh.
experience.
I,
Yeah.
I can share again another anecdote. Just 2 minutes I'll take, ma'am. Sorry for taking extra time. But अभी एक यहाँ हमारे यहाँ Fiki Flow करके there's one group, it's just like all female business women, they are having their own set of group. So last week I was just reading a newspaper, and उसमें उन्होंने बड़े अच्छा वो दिया कि all these female, the business women, they were all regular normal say women only. And then they said that they were given one exercise. And what was that exercise? You want to have a book? Thank you so very much, Rukaiya. I'll talk to you later on. So what exercise they were given? That is, they said that you leave your handsets behind, mobile handsets behind, and say they were taken to a dark room, and then after that they were given some certain task. उनको कुछ कुछ दिया, like they said you touch, and they were given a small baskets. उसको आपको touch करना था, to feel and write down on a piece of paper. Then similarly उनको कुछ taste करने के लिए कुछ खाने वाने का दिया, and after that कुछ और भी कुछ some few things that they were asked to do it. All these females with like regular set of people, regular set of business women, and very successful business women. उनको सब बाद में लाइट जलाने के बाद में, after say some certain this thing amount of time when it passed off, फिर लाइट जलाया तो बोला कि okay, now that you can see who was giving you these instructions out here. So they were all together. And also they were given small chits, small chits में कि suppose if one lady is having a chit कि उसमें ये कुछ लिखा था, so she wanted to be, so she was asked to make pair with that another female in another corner who was again having the similar kind of a chit. तो वो उनको अब एक दूसरे को बोलना था कि I'm having this chit, who is having the other chit, मतलब कुछ था plus to minus something like that. So after that, when the lights were opened, they saw that there were 5 girls standing there, and all 5 of them, they were blind. So they were all educated women, वहाँ पे जो blind students थी, या blind students तो नहीं कहना चाहिए, of course they were all they grown up, fully grown up, and they were working somewhere or the other. They said they wanted to make you all understand what is our life is like, हमारा world कैसे है. So they kind of enjoyed that activity. जैसे हम लोग कई बार games भी खेलते हैं. Thing is that they have this, मतलब we cannot say they don't have the vision. They may be blind, but they are still having the vision. So the
Exactly.
idea is that is to encourage them, promote them,
Yeah.
not to discourage them. हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम लोग उनको discourage करते हैं, तुमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, तुम नहीं कर पाओगे. This should not be the case. हमारी बहुत responsibility हो जाती है when we get some such students to motivate them to complete their education. and they are like all of us. They are like any normal set of person, you know.
Yes.
So it's important to include inclusivity in our higher education.
Exactly, ma'am. So, for this, whatever you have made the awareness among our participants. It was really nice. I'm really thankful to you for as you have given your role in this.
So thank you so very much. And with your permission, can I leave the platform? Thank you so very much.